All right. I'm back from London. Got back about 1:30 last night. I was tempted to record something on my phone in the car as soon as I got back, but then I thought I'm really tired. I could barely speak because I was shouting quite a bit last night, as you could probably imagine. So my voice is really croaky. And yeah, I wanted to go to bed. So I thought we'd go live before I go to work today, or start work from home today. I don't know if we'll get anyone in the chat. It's only 8:30 a.m, so it's quite early, earlier than I would normally do something like this. So if you're in the chat, feel free to say hello. Got a couple of shout outs to do first of all. Kian and Dave, who were in front of me on the coach. Lovely bunch. And yeah, a good chat on the coach. I enjoyed that. And I also met, it was Jacob and Conrad as well, who came and asked for a photo. I couldn't believe it. It's still, it's surreal when people ask me for a photo. I thank you very much for watching the channel. But yeah, what did we make of the game yesterday? I can't say, I went into the game expecting much, and I think the players went into the game sort of feeling the same. We hark back to the West Ham game, right, which is probably one of the the best games this club have had in a while. Certainly a similar sort of team to what played this game. The occasion just didn't feel the same. The players, I don't think there was a level of belief in the players tonight that they could actually win that game. And I think that showed in the first half. We'll have a look at the team a second. We can talk about the team selection. Trusty Fotmob is up again. So here's the team we started with. Lumley in goal, who I must presume is either the Carabao or just overall cup goalkeeper. Tanner, Viner, Dickey at the back. Dickey was in the middle, Viner on the left. Although Viner actually didn't do too badly on the left of the three. Back end of last season when he was having to play there, he was a little bit suspect, but he did okay there. McCrory, Knight, Bird and Yu as the midfield. Obviously McCrory and Yu as wing-backs. Stokes got his first start. Unfortunately for him, subbed off after 14 minutes with, well, he was quite emotional when getting subbed off as well. It looked like quite a bad injury, so I feel for Josh Stokes. I hope he recovers from that quickly. Sam Bell and Sinclair Armstrong, who played the full 90. What have we got to say? We'll talk about the first half. I've got some thoughts on the first half, some thoughts on the second half, and then some overall thoughts on the game, and I think that probably covers us quite nicely. We'll just have a quick look at the chat. We got Tom, good to see you. Roaster, let's talk about Man United. Yeah, that's quite funny, that. Chappers, good to see you. Chap, he says, positives, Fally should be behind Reece. Randall's looking good, yeah. That's one thing I would say about this lineup. Ultimately, the rotation is probably expected, but I don't think that was a game for Max Bird. I think that was a game for Adam Randall to start. I felt the West. If you remember back to the West Ham games, right, the games where we really stuck it to a Premier League team, and I would say the West Ham team we faced were of similar quality to that Fulham 11 is good, but the West Ham team we played was of similar quality to that. And I think there was one player who was the real difference maker across the games, and that was Joe Williams, right? The bite and needle he put in midfield. He got Ben Rama sent off at Ashton Gate, which I think won us the tie. Yeah, I would agree. I think Randall could have started this one. But anyway, so the first half, two just really soft goals from Fulham, weren't they? Obviously a Tanner own goal, which I think the first one, I think Lumley could have done a little bit more for. Well, I'd say that's probably being a bit kind. And the second goal, Jimenez, from what I remember, had 5 or 6 yards of, 2 or 3 yards of space inside the 6-yard box. And he's Raul Jimenez, he's a prolific, over a course of multiple seasons, a good striker, right, in the Premier League. And we gave him far too much space there. I don't really think there's much else to say on that. They did show their quality, I think, a little bit above us as well. I thought he didn't necessarily get a goal or assist, but every time Smith Rowe got the ball, he looked pretty threatening. And then you had Kearney and Reed in midfield who kind of just dominated. They were very good on the ball. There were a couple of times when we tried to really press them high, and just because of their quality, they managed to play through it. They were really good with that. Second half, so we had a half-time substitution. We had a first half substitution. Mehmeti came in for Stokes. And then McCrory, he came off for Sykes. So we had 2 new players on at that point. I would say the second half was full of Sinclair Armstrong being Sinclair Armstrong and Anis Mehmeti being Anis Mehmeti. they showed all the promise that they tend to in games, but then also the criticisms that we'd have of them as well. You know, Sinclair Armstrong, I think even in the first half, he got in a couple of times. There was one shot that he completely put into the Fulham stand. Funny enough, Amdama Traore did that in the second half, if I remember rightly. What else was I going to say? Sinclair. And yeah, Mehmeti, he got himself into some good positions and worked it well. But again, he was just Mehmeti, really. What else have we got? And yeah, I think the game sort of really shifted. I think we definitely grew into the game in the second half. Whatever Struber said to the team at half time, I think really worked. To be honest, I think he probably told them we're showing these lot a bit too much respect here and need to put ourselves on the game a little bit more. And that's what they did. When Randall came on, I thought he was really good. One thing I noticed about Randall that he does that a lot of other players in our team don't necessarily do is his head. When he's not got the ball, his head is absolutely on a swivel. Like, he is doing that the whole game, scanning for where the opposition players are running to, where his teammates are going to be. And I don't really see... He does that more than any other player I've noticed in our team. I wouldn't say he's the best technical player we've got, but I think his level of like game intelligence is really high. And I thought we really established ourselves in the game when he came on. A shock. Another player I thought did really well, obviously Fally. He had a 30-minute cameo, and it was probably the best I've seen Fally play since the start of his Bristol City career, to be honest. He had one chance from a header. I don't know who put the cross in. It may have been Sykes. I thought he should have probably scored potentially from that opportunity on his head. I thought it was a pretty good chance. I've lost my notes, bear with. I thought it was a pretty good chance. And then he had one off the post as well. And I thought, one thing you can see with Fally, you know, regardless of the criticisms you might have of him, the guy, he does have an eye for goal. Like he's got an instinct to be a finisher, which I really like. One thing I didn't really get, and it may have been he was just saving him for the weekend, but I didn't quite understand the Yu Hirakawa to Hayden Roberts substitution. I'm pretty sure if the bid comes in for Hayden Roberts, he's going to leave the club. So to give him minutes is interesting, and also to sub off Yu, who I personally thought had a good game, and I think Yu looked quite disappointed when he was subbed off as well. So yeah, just one overall thought I had on that. Obviously, we didn't score in that second half, but I'd say we looked the most threatening of the two sides. But that also probably doesn't factor in the fact that Fulham probably they didn't switch off, but they went down a gear because they didn't need to. You know, they were 2-0 up after the 2 goals that we gave them. And I think, you know, I'm not going to spend too long on this stream because the game wasn't crucial for us, right? I think that was clear with, you know, the general feeling around the game before. I don't think anyone expected a win or I think we probably could have wanted a bit more from our performance in the first half. Good to see you in the chat, Ben. News on Stokes, chappers. I haven't got anything on Stokes yet, I'm afraid. I haven't got anything on Stokes yet. I don't know. He walked off, didn't he? So I'm not sure it's going to be too serious. But at the same time, he was obviously quite upset. So yeah, I've got some final thoughts on the game. We'll make this a quick 10-minute stream. So unlike the Sheffield United game at the start of the season and the West Ham game a couple of seasons ago, I just don't feel like we rose to the occasion. Like that Sheffield United game, there was so much I felt like built up emotion around it, where the players just had the motivation to like completely play out of their skin. And we haven't got to that level this season after that, I don't think. It also might ask the question how bad Sheffield United were, but I don't think they were that bad. Yeah, we just didn't have I don't think there was a strong enough belief going into that game that we could have gotten something out of Fulham today, I'll be honest. That's just one thing I'll say. And I think we were just too nice as well. I think if you're going away to a Premier League team, you have to be like really dogged and nasty. Like stick a couple of nasty challenges in on a couple of their players just to set the tone. But we didn't really do that. That's something I felt that we did against West Ham. Obviously, the 2 goals were way too soft. They probably would have scored more if they were really going for it, Fulham. But I did feel the 2 goals we conceded were soft. You know, they were just nothing goals, really. I would also say, given that Sinclair Armstrong got 90 minutes, had a couple of moments, but overall didn't do a whole lot, and Fally Mayuli did more than Sinclair Armstrong did in the game in about 30 minutes, I think the pecking order of our forwards is now quite clear. Like for me, I think obviously Emil Rees is number one. And we've got some good news on Rees. He looked like he was taking part in the warm-up, looking completely fit and ready. So I'd say Emil Rees is good to go for Saturday, which is obviously good news. I mean, he wouldn't be, he wouldn't be taking part in the warm-up otherwise. Sorry, it's clearing my throat. But yeah, I think, the order of forwards now is probably Sinks. Emil Rees, Fally Moyulu, Sinclair Armstrong, and Sam Bell. And then obviously Cornick if he ever gets any minutes. I don't think Sam Bell impressed himself on the game enough either. Like you would imagine, there's nothing personal against these players, but I think if a bid came in for Hayden Roberts, Sam Bell, or Sinclair Armstrong, I think the club would take it. I mean, that's just my thoughts. And also, I think it's abundantly clear to me, at least, that we still need a forward in the door. I don't think we saw enough from Fally to say that he is the solution to our problem. I think we definitely need a forward in the door to fill in for Emil Rees. And I think maybe a forward who offers something a little bit different to Mehmeti and Twine. I think you need someone with genuine pace and athleticism on the either side of the striker. So maybe a forward that can either play those positions or as the central striker as well, I think would be good. And we definitely need a left wing back, don't we? I think we're going to play this system pretty much every game this season. I'm not saying Struber's completely set in his ways, but I think, it's how he's going to want to line us up. And we have one left-footed player who can play left wing back at the moment in Cam Pring. We obviously have Hayden Roberts who can play there, but Struber, for whatever reason, doesn't rate him. So I don't think he's going to get any game time after this game. So I think we need a left-sided left wing back and another forward. And genuinely, if we have Vitek in goal most games, I go back to what I said earlier on in my content. I think we're genuinely, we have a squad good enough to challenge for the top six again if we sign those two positions. If we don't, I think we're mid-table. An injury will happen to Emil Rees at some point this season. I'm sure of it. He'll have a short-term thing. I just have a feeling that will happen. And obviously Cam Pring, it's quite a bad injury that he's got. How long is he going to take to get up to speed? I mean, we're going to be facing a right footer playing this position for a little while, I think. So I think we need a left footer to play there as well. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts. We're 12 minutes in. I think that covers us quite nicely. My voice is already going. I've got calls all day as well, so wish me luck with that. I'm just going to see if there's anything else in my notes that I missed. Now, that would be my thoughts on it. We'll have a quick look at the chat. Spencer says, "Hi Tom, think Fally looked better when he came on with two strikers. I would agree. Would be nice to see two strikers against Hull, but maybe Fally and Rees." Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to think of how he will line up against Hull. I've got to say, I don't think his team against Hull will be much different from the team that played, the start of the season or against Derby. I think it will probably be that front three of Twine, Mehmeti, Rees again. That just depends how fit Mehmeti is, I guess. He probably wanted a rested Mehmeti, but he ended up playing 80 minutes last night. So, yeah, we'll see. And Chad was saying, I would be annoyed if Fally... Yeah, I'd agree. The pecking order is clear for me. I mean, I think you'd accept a bid now for Bell, Armstrong and Cornick. Not saying that... I got nothing against these players personally. I just want the best for my football club, Bristol City. And I think in order to bring a forward in, one of those three will need to go out, right? So I would support and wish them the best with their careers, of course, but I would support that, I think, at this point. Right, I think that ends it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you haven't already, on your way out, please leave a like rating. We got 30 people in there at the moment and only 4 likes. So let's see if we can get some more like ratings in the stream. And yeah, cheers, everyone. Have a good day, and I will catch you on Saturday. I haven't quite worked out what my plan for content is on Saturday yet, because I'm going on holiday on Sunday, so I've got a bit of packing and all sorts to do. But my thoughts are I'll at least get a game review of this sort of style. And I think Saturday is more important than obviously last night, right? I think we need a win on Saturday. And it's basically with the international break after as well, it's kind of a line in the sand as to how our season's going to go. So hopefully that match review will be, there'll be more to talk about. How was your first away day experience? Yeah, I didn't even mention that as my first away day. Yeah, it was good. Obviously the result wasn't there, but it was good fun. I got chatting to a load of Bristol City fans. So who else did I meet? I met Bristol Dalboy from Twitter. He didn't actually give me his name. He just called himself Bristol Dalboy, which I thought was quite funny. He was lovely. I had a chat with him and a couple lads that he was with. Josh, I think his name is Josh. He's on Twitter as BCFCJH. I think his name's Josh. Absolute legend, by the way. I met one of his friends whose name I can't remember. And then I met up with Mikey FC as well, another YouTuber. We all watched the game together. So yeah, in terms of that, I had a lovely evening with the people I spent it with. And yeah, there were some lovely people on the bus as well. So yeah, the people made it for me rather than the Bristol City performance. But yeah, cool. I'll leave it there. I'm going to go make a coffee and then open up my laptop and get on a call at 9 a.m. So I'll see you later.